Hello, my name is Yudao. I am a monk here at SokukoJi. If you are inspired by these talks and these teachings, please consider joining us for our other forums, online or in person, and also consider helping us financially. We could use your support if you are able. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Appreciate that you're attending this Dharma talk. I'm attending it. I don't miss many of these, if any. But who's counting? So thank you for attending this morning's Dharma talk. Title is The Trap. You know what a trap is? Trap of doing, the trap of outflowing, the trap of producing something, anything. Something happens, we believe it. Something happens, we disbelieve it. Something happens, we avoid it. Doing. Those are all doings of a sort, all different sorts. That's why I often say, don't do anything unless you have to. That won't help you stop doing things. But because of that instruction, if you understand it in awareness, not as a right and wrong, it'll help you see the extent to which you continue to respond habitually, possibly even addictively to certain kinds of activity. It is not about getting rid of it. Please don't get rid of anything. Don't change anything. Don't control anything. Mind your own business. That's a pretty strong statement. Mind your own business. You mind your own business. This is your life. When someone else is acting this way or that way, you don't like it, or you really love it and appreciate it, you might want to compliment them. You might want to mind your own business and let them function without your input. That being said, if you're functioning that way, if you're functioning out of consciousness only, you won't know it. You will not get a credential from that. If you get a credential, then you have work to do. It's not that it's wrong, because right and wrong are extra. We don't need a right and wrong. Pardon me, I'm looking for a handkerchief. Otherwise, I'm going to have to use my Roxu, and that would be, what do they call that? Messy? Yes. My Jisha is bringing me a handkerchief. Thank you. And I'm now bringing you the sound of a nose blowing. That also is production. You cannot help but produce to some extent. Well, some production, you cannot help it. You cannot look for your handkerchief and someone will see you're looking and will help you. Very simple. It's so ordinary. It's so flat. It's so common. It's so everyday. Nothing special. Everything all at once. You need to see it. I'm encouraging you. Whatever breath I have left in me is just meant to help you, not to get in your way, not to change you. If you run this way, I'm not going to chase you. If you run that way, I'm not going to say you shouldn't do that. If you're going this way, I'm going to say, have a seat right there and face a wall. That's what I'm here to do. There's not many of us. Down through the centuries, there have not been many of us. But there have been quite a few. If you start to add them up, there's whole lineage of teachers down through the centuries, not only in the Buddhist tradition, but in the Advaita tradition, in the Christian tradition, in the Muslim tradition, in the Jewish tradition, in the non-dual, as I said, Advaita, and also indigenous, the Great Spirit. Not different, not the same, not different. You need to see this. Or not, or maybe not. Maybe this is not your lifetime for that. Maybe 3 lifetimes from now, you'll run into this same thing again, or what is called, what's the common thing? Life lessons. Kind of an understatement. When you're being ripped apart in a marriage, or you're being ripped apart in a battlefield that you can't avoid, you can't stay away, you have to go into battle. Because dependent origination, because we are not separate beings. If you continue to conclude that you're right or wrong, or someone else is right or wrong, or life, or you live by a bunch of ethics that are meant to be supportive and helpful to people, but they're meant to be observed, not obeyed. Please stop obeying everyone, anything, including your own mind stream. That being said, get your own authority. You'll know what you need to do. You won't make choices. You won't go to this and that. You'll know the difference, simply put, between a window and a door. You don't try to jump out a window. You'll know what it means. You'll know what it means yourself, that no matter how difficult this gets, you have to go right into it. And don't leave it for who caused it. Don't leave it for why it shouldn't be there. Don't leave it. Don't leave it. Don't leave it. Go right into it. As they say in the Marine Corps, gung ho, go for broke. It's a military image, but in the military, there's an enemy and you're going after the enemy. You're going to go and stop them. Not wrong, not right, but not wrong. And if I were to use this as I just did on the spiritual path, just intention. If you understand this, just intend, that is everything. That's the wisdom. That's the skillful means. No matter what anybody thinks about it, they can come back and judge you. The last few years, I've been judged quite a bit. Not only that, I've been judged since I was born, some 80 some years ago. For a long time, it just haunted me constantly. People didn't approve of me, didn't like me, so I would hide out and not let them know how crazy I was. I'm not about to do that. I'm not hiding out anymore. Even death can't stop this. Please understand. Otherwise, every time someone dies, they're going to be all upset. You're not helping. You're not helping the consciousness that has left the human form and gone into the intermediate state or into the spirit realm or heaven or hell or whatever you want to call it. Not helping by sobbing about them. You're just distracting them where they have to come back and listen to you and try to figure out a way to tell you, don't worry. See, how do I say? I don't have a mouth, I don't have a body, don't have a mind, don't have a consciousness, don't, not. It's crazy. That's why it's called crazy wisdom. If you see this, it's totally insane, makes no sense at all. And if you get frightened there, then that's ego. You do not have to get rid of something that is unreal, but you need to see it. You need to see that there is no reference point there. If you can do that, you're liberated. Are you liberated? No, no one is liberated. There never was anything but liberation. This is available to you. End of Act 1. You can do this. You may need the help of this person prodding you or pushing you, and you may not. You may get too close to this person and the prodding and pushing when I'm looking at your bullshit and I'm saying, then you may go, no, 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 no. Or you may go, this guy is a miserable teacher. He's a cult leader, and he's trying to control people, abuse people, and I have had enough of it. I'm going to move to Montreal or Vermont or Kanambogo-Gavutu, which is an island in the South Pacific, by the way. If you think I'm making things up, I'm not. But yet everything is made up, everything is invented. You're inventing everything. Everything that comes into your mind is an invention. It has a relative reality, but ultimately it's unreal. If you believe it, you'll be imprisoned by your thoughts and emotions. Overwhelming. The whole world is doing this. Billions of people are doing this. Billions of people are following this person. Billions of people are following that person, and all this tumbles all over the place. You don't have to do any of that. You can consider what I'm saying. If you hear what I'm saying, you may leave this teaching and never come back. If you hear what I'm saying, you may hear this teaching and never be able to leave. If you hear this teaching, you may realize, and you really hear this teaching, you may realize that nothing happens anywhere, never has, and that who you think you are is not separate from anyone else anywhere. Every duck, every tree, every rabbit, every rock, every cloud, every thought, every memory, everything is not separate from anything else. It is not a conclusion. It's just the truth that I'm able to see every day, all night long. And I'm silly enough, I guess, to come in here and convert that into language with the idea that maybe someone, was there a dozen people here? Maybe a dozen people here, maybe a few people will see it on YouTube. Maybe someone somewhere might be ready to hear what I'm saying. Probably not very many, but you're here. Consider it. What should you do next? Don't do anything unless you have to. I trust you to do what you need to do. If you say, Sokuzan, so what should I do? I would say, hold still and watch the movement, because the movement itself is the illusion. Not only the thought you had, but your idea about the thought. Not only the emotion you had, but your idea of, I like it, I don't like it, it's good, it's bad. Your judgment, I feel this way, I don't feel this way, I shouldn't feel this way, and so on. All of that is an illusion. But you won't know it if you keep what? Doing this, doing that. There's the outward kind of doing, which is our relative situation of popping popcorn, having some popcorn, turning on the television, turning the television off, getting in the car, coming, going, putting our clothes on, taking a shower, all over the place. It makes it look so real. And then there's the more subtle kind, which some of the primary parts of the illusion are gone. The space situation is gone. There's a space. This is a Zendo. There's a space in front of you. You're sitting looking at your computer screen here. In this case, you're looking at an old man gesturing and talking. Simply put, that's the relative. It's so convincing. It gets less convincing when we get more into the consciousness area of it that we call the mind, or where things like thoughts and emotions and feelings and memories and analysis and logic and all that show up. It takes up the space of the mind, but the past and the future aren't as strong there. There's a thought of the past. There's a thought of the future. There's a guesswork about the future. There's a memory which is completely contaminated with your ideas, your beliefs, your opinions, your judgments, your evaluation, and your paranoia. You notice I'm smiling slightly because I'm full of it. I wouldn't be able to talk about this if I'd somehow healed or recovered or become better or become enlightened. There isn't anybody enlightened, especially here. There isn't anyone here. If you're interested in this, which you may not be, I'm not particularly pleasing to listen to. And where's this energy coming from? From the hell realm I've been going through since I was born, not only this lifetime, in every lifetime, in order to get to a point where I can actually talk about what I just looked at without accepting it. Don't accept. Without rejecting it. Don't reject. Never leave hell. Never scurry away to heaven. You don't have to do anything with this. It's only consciousness. It is a complete illusion, which is a relative term about something that appears, but it's fundamentally not there. You can see this. If there are questions, I'd be happy to take a stab at it. Go ahead.
Countermobiling, when you say trapped by doing, what about dependent origination? Are we trapped by dependent origination?
No, you're liberated by dependent origination because you're no longer picking and choosing. It's just consciousness. You're still here. There's still a body with arms moving. They may move a lot. They may go through a lot of gestures. They may be functioning as a teacher who's producing something about what is there, or may be functioning as a student who is receiving everything. The teaching person is doing both at the same time. They're receiving the dependent origination as it arises without opinion, without grievance, without acceptance, rejection, shutting down, or any kind of valuation of it. But it is obvious because they're not separate from what is being received. They actually know what doorway to go through and what way not to go. It's gone. The whole choice is completely gone. It's destroyed. When they say it's destroyed, it's not never been there. It's just seen to be untrue. It's one of the methods of ego that, well, you can make the right choices. Relatively speaking, if you're in a, shall we say, not to be particularly judgmental, but it's probably going to sound that way. If you're in a lower level of understanding in this particular lifetime, which you've had countless lifetimes, I don't believe it. Don't believe me. Consider it. then that's all about me, and what I get and what about for me and what do they think about me and me. Constant me. All the time, me. If I operated that way, I certainly wouldn't be here. This is a difficult place to be because everyone I look at, everyone I talk to is filled with anguish and difficulty and suffering, whether they are aware of it or not. They may not be aware of it, but awareness doesn't have a reference point as someone who's aware and something you're aware of. If this comes about in your consciousness before you pass from this realm or after you pass from this realm, which is possible, you won't have any more feelings. Every feeling that shows up doesn't belong to anyone. The intensity of the feeling can be overwhelming, can knock you right out of your saddle. Go ahead.
Conjure bowing. So then when you say the trap of doing, the trap refers to fighting dependent origination?
Trap refers to believing the passion, believing the aggression, believing the ignorance, if you can see the ignorance, which is difficult, and trying to stop it. You're trying to stop being distracted rather than be aware of being distracted. Stop being angry rather than do it. You do it soon because it's about ego not wanting to be angry, or it's about passion or grasping or craving or lust, not wanting to be that way. This is crazy. It's not crazy maybe to a psychiatrist or psychologist or a therapist, but to consciousness, it's just nuts to go in circles and beat things up and create suffering for yourself and others because you're trying to improve somebody or trying to get somebody else to improve, to live up to your standards. Like I was lectured recently by someone who's a Brahmin about how I shouldn't be in the relationship. He's telling me about how I should relate to my students based on his conditioning, his enculturation, his ethics of right and wrong. It's not saying there isn't some right and wrong to it, but it's very minimal when it comes to consciousness only. Only consciousness sees this truth. Only consciousness. Thought process, thinking process, evaluation process, concluding process comes to more relative truth, maybe of a very high level, which shows up as some kind of ethics or some kind of way of functioning. We need all of that. We need the 16 precepts of the Soto Zen lineage. But as my teacher told me in 1991 or thereabouts, when I asked him for precepts, I'd like to take precepts with you. And he said in a very gruff voice, it's hard to imagine a feather speaking gruffly, but he did because he was functioning as a teacher. I asked him to be my teacher. He said, you don't take precepts, you observe them. That teaching has never left me. It just haunted me for close to a dozen years. So what you don't do, if it's coming out of passion, aggression, ignorance, right and wrong, judgment, evaluation of yourself or others or the world or society or anything or the spiritual path or anyone's spiritual path, then you'll continue to go in circles and it'll look like a straight line of being more and more ethical, more and more successful, more and more less self-centered, more compassionate. Don't kid yourself. And if you do kid yourself, then just be aware that you're kidding yourself. That might take years to watch what a silly person you are before you eventually realize there isn't anyone else. There's just this. Save all beings. Please. Put others before yourself. It's an intention to do that. It's not the success story. It won't matter what anybody thinks. If you're actually putting others before yourself, no one will ever necessarily realize that. They may scoff at you from now on, but it's not about them scoffing or you being scoffed at. It's about consciousness only. Let's liberate everybody. Start out with yourself. More questions?
Conjure bowing. The poisons are dependently originated too, aren't they?
Yes.
So whatever shows up is dependently originated.
Yes.
So what is the trap? Is the trap not
Yes.
believing or is the trap believing and not being aware that we're?
Yes. The trap seems to be we're doing something and failing, then we need to keep pushing at it so we don't fail. We need to succeed at that based on our standard we set up for ourselves, or society is set up, or your dad is set up for you, or your teacher, or anybody, even your Dharma teacher or your spiritual guide. If they've set up any standards for you, then if they're your teacher and you feel a connection with that, then maybe that's the stage of life that you're in, and they're trying to help you in that area, which might be about correcting. There are Theravada monks who practice endeavoring to attain the jhana states all the time, and not a problem. From this point of view, they're doing what they need to do, especially if they have a teacher, a mentor. If you're going to, I can name names, and I'm not going to, but if you're going to synagogue, or if you're going to mass, and you have a teacher, you have a mentor, that's what's important, that you have someone that can help you work with this. It's not about everybody needs to be a Buddhist. That's silly. But if you're a Buddhist, then you need to stay on this path, not by maintaining it, by returning to it. Leave it every day, walk out the door, stumble over the trash can, complain, scowl at people, and then return to the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, the awakened one. The Dharma, the truth that he taught. Nothing is separate from anything else. Everything is in a state of suffering. And the community, in this case, community of people who gather together to listen to these teachings and possibly ask questions, and that are endeavoring to understand, what is this? And I would say, on top of that, in our path, our lineage, our way, the Buddha's way of doing this, you need to hold still and train the awareness, not just think, and train the thinking process, the concluding process to come up with the right idea about how this works. Prayer is prayer in any tradition is very similar. It's not the same, but it's very similar. I vow to be with all things. Thank you very much. I have no complaints whatsoever. Saying the rosary, saying any of the repetitions, or cultural repetitions that help us bring, using concepts, return to the fundamental nature, that everything is just this. The Buddhists would say Dharmakaya, or use some of the concepts, or Buddha nature. Other traditions, lineages will say Allah, or say Jehovah, or say Christ, or possibly praying to the saints, just like we talk to Padmasambhava, or we talk to Avalokiteshvara, Kuan Yin. These are just ways of by using a form of putting a little bit of tension, which is not relative tension because there's no result to it. It's an ultimate kind of tension that you do with the intention to see the truth. And you may need a vow, you may not. You may have your name changed. You may be having a change of name, change of mark. You may receive a robe or a raksu, or maybe none of that. Maybe you're just doing this on your own. No right or wrong to any of that. There's no correct way to do it. More?
Earl, I'm bowing. Thinking how in our culture, it's anyone can learn how to do anything, like on YouTube. Like no one really needs a teacher anymore.
Could you learn how to train monkeys on YouTube?
I have to ask you as my go-to monkey trainer person that I know.
I would say no.
Okay.
Because you could learn on YouTube that monkeys can't be trained. Now that you may learn that on YouTube. Go ahead.
Earl, I'm bowing. So with that, what is the importance of receiving something from a lineage or a teacher or a mentor? Bowing.
Because it's an ultimate understanding that shows up relatively. You're here, teacher's over there. You realize that you're not so clear, you're having difficulty, you're stumbling over things. You meet someone who's something about them. They may seem to be stumbling over things too. Other people may be upset with them. All kinds of things, but something about your connection with that consciousness with that person. This is probably a person you've known for a long, long time, not in personhood, but in consciousness. It just shows up as person. That's the illusion. You show up, the teacher shows up. You look for a teacher, the teacher will appear. You don't look for a teacher, the teacher may appear anyway, but you might not recognize her. More?
Parallel bowing. It's reminding me of something Trungpa Rinpoche says. It's something like it's it's not even so important like what the teacher's doing or if they're even right. It's more about receiving it as if it was.
That is so true. And how do you teach that to a world that's looking for right and wrong? How do you do that? Well, he's not. Look what he's doing. Look what they're, look how, look. The world is wrapped up in that kind of thing. Our whole political system is just swamped with that. So people are so worried about things coming apart. Well, that's just the very nature of things. When they come together, they come apart. But that which does not come together cannot come apart. Realize it. Realize who you actually are. More?
Parallel bowing. It is receiving the fundamental practice that we're doing here.
Yes. But you may need a teaching person to receive from. And if that teaching person can function in all kinds of ways. If your teacher is the Dalai Lama, you won't get to talk to him much, but you'll be inspired by his words because they're amazing. He just is a wonderful, loving, kind. His whole practice is kindness. He's even said so many times. I would think that maybe in a personal interview, he might get a little gruff with you. Yeah, he wouldn't with anybody else, but with you, yeah, he'd probably give you a good chewing. So I'm just saying the style is different, not based on the teacher, he, she, they thinking, oh, I need to teach like this or teach like that. No, there's no method, there's no standard, any of it. The teaching person, if they are functioning as one, they see there isn't anything separate, so they don't need to think anything because you're doing plenty of it for both of them. So they just watch you think, watch you conclude, watch you spew things, observe you, watch you, and then they mirror that. And they may mirror it in such a way that you kind of realize you're getting a teaching possible, and they may mirror it in such a way that you get upset and run away. I was very upset with both of my teachers, actually several of them that weren't even officially students or teachers of mine. But my Trungpa Rinpoche and Kobun, I was mad at both of them. It was hard to have someone point to something that you're not ready to see on your own, and you might need to see through a teacher. So I would say, don't do it. Maybe it's not your lifetime. No requirement to do anything. That's the way I mind my own business. I mind my own business. But if you come and give me permission, or if you stand here and say, yeah, help me, I'd like some help. I'm going to be your student. I'd say, okay. And then that's when it starts. And then can you take 20 minutes, 20 years? What can you take? How much can you receive? You want to go on to graduate school or not? Have you noticed that after graduate school, there isn't anything to do except find a job? Well, as a monk, you have your job right now. Save all beings, put others before yourself. And that's true of anybody. I mean, I say that to someone who's not a student. If they said, what should you do with your life? If I met them and they didn't even know I was a monk. And they said, oh, old man, maybe you could help me. I'm getting ready to do this or that. I met a woman many, many years ago, young woman. She didn't know who I was. I didn't know who she was, but I walked out of the library up in Nashville, Michigan. She was standing there. I was waiting for a ride myself. And she was too. And I said, how you doing? Okay. So what are you up to? Are you still in school? She says, no, I'm going into the military. I said, you really think that's a good idea? So here I am right in the middle of this giving her advice, but by way of a question, you really think that's a good idea? She says, oh, yes, I want to do this. I want to serve my country. Stop. I stopped interfering with her at that point because that's none of my business what she's doing. She was highly motivated to do that. I can't necessarily go in with some kind of the politics of my own experience, which is not so good militarily, having a father that was killed in fighting the Nazis in World War II and having spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. My experience was horrible. but I don't know I didn't know who she was. All I can say is I need to really trust her in my way. She doesn't know I was trusting her. She thought I was just passing the time of day with her and listening to her. So save all beings, put others before yourself, even when it's just about impossible to do it. You won't have a result. Oh, I'm putting others before myself. It'll probably always feel like failure. Disappointment, disappointment. That's the path. That's why the path is spiritual path. It's so difficult. It's so discouraging and difficult. I think Condorman talked about that recently, about how just really, really, really difficult it is. Any further questions? Anyone in here? Yes.
Bowing,
Thank you for that question. Thank you.
what is the trap of ignorance?
So the three poisons, let's go through it that way. The trap of passion or grasping. I think we have to stop doing that without even seeing the whole picture of what the grasping is about. We're not willing to just stick our head right in that sour tasting, smelly stuff of our own life, see what it is, treat it as a lesson, as an understanding. Be a student, receive, receive, receive. As soon as you start producing on top of the receiving, it's like scolding your teacher, and all she's trying to do is help you see more clearly what's happening to you. And then the trap of aggression is similar, trying to not be angry, like it says in the what is it, the ninth prohibitory precepts is no being angry. Well, that's a really direct way of teaching it, but one who is teaching that realizes you can't stop being angry. We all know that. People get mad and try to stop it, but no being angry. I would say just observe that. You observe that. Be aware of what anger is. And by trying not to be angry, as long as you don't make a big project out of it and make demands on yourself and put yourself in some kind of a strict solitary prison of your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, then there's a possibility of seeing the way anger works to support what? The basic fundamental illusion, which is there's a separate person who can even be angry. The anger comes out of dependent origination, belongs to no one. There is no ownership. There are no boundaries there. It's consciousness only, which doesn't have territory, doesn't have boundaries. So it's about being aware of that so that that can come apart in terms of what it's doing to that other part of the illusion, which is a self, and it begins to be self-existing. It's just anger. It may come, it may go. You're always everything is welcome to come in here. No being angry. What it means is there's nobody to be angry. When we come back to the part of your question that you seem to be asking about is the other poison, which is ignorance. And your question was?
What is
Being trapped by ignorance?
being trapped by ignorance?
Okay, I thought it was. Pardon me for stepping into your memory field. I forget everything. It's the only way I can remember. You want to know what that is? I just showed you. Very easy to talk about aggression because it's active. Easy to talk about passion because it's grasping, trying to get something, blaming. Ignorance is because of their nature of distraction. It's very hard to point it out in a relative way. So the trap is what? What's the trap of ignorance?
What I'm seeing about is I don't know what I don't know, and I think I know what I don't know, and then I know, and
Pretty
I just
close.
get lost.
That's close. When you said get lost, it's pretty good. I mean, I can tell by the way you respond to that how much you've been working with that and where that question comes from. And I would say it this way, very bluntly, since you're a monk and you're a student of mine, I would say you have work to do there. It's a good question, but your way of responding to it, because you think there is a response to that. There's no response to that question. Every response to that question is ignorance. Do you follow? Say no.
Oh,
That's ignorance.
yes.
Don't get smart with me. Come with a cuff you one. No, I won't cuff you. No, I didn't mean that. I won't hit them. I've never hit anyone. I think the last person I hit was my son. I spanked him a little bit, but real light, because I had to spank my stepchildren because their mother said I should. So I went ahead and did that. And he was there, so I spanked him a little bit. Kind of told him that I gotta do this, you know. That was in 1979. Great memory, huh? Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, probably a question from Martine on YouTube.
Martin, yes.
If we all die sooner or later, why waste time on hating anyone?
Okay, I agree. I agree with that. You say, why waste time? I would say, I guess to be more direct, don't waste time on it. Yes,
Condroma bowing. Does it matter what we do as long as we're aware of our doing?
doesn't matter what you do, but it has a lot of pull if you're doing things that most of society disagrees with. So it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is my understanding of it. My understanding is to be aware of what happens. And that way you're no longer, praise and blame just come apart. Praise and blame are meant to control people. But a whole group of society over here is trying to control a whole bunch of people over here. And it's successful as long as there's some kind of agreement. The $1 million is a lot. But $1 million is nothing to someone who is just hungry. I'm going to help them a bit. They just want something to eat. More?
Condroma bowing, if we're fully absorbed in what we're doing, cooking or whatever the
Yes.
doing is that ignorance, or could we be aware? Bowing.
Yes.
Condroma bowing, how can we be aware if we're fully absorbed in something?
You're aware that you're absorbed. That's why there's nothing to fix. But if you try to stop doing something, then you're not aware of the absorption. This is why I say you don't need to recover from an addiction. It's just silly to do that, because then you're stuck with the addiction the rest of your life, and you have to find some way to maintain your distance from it. Sometimes called 12-step programs. That being said, I'm totally in favor of 12-step. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. If you need a 12-step program, I'll drive you there. I'm happy to help you in whichever stage or area of consciousness you're working in. And one of those might be very strong relative truth correction. But if you're, especially those of you who are monks, I'm saying, don't obey anything. Don't obey me. Don't ignore me. If I'm your teacher, don't ignore what I'm saying. Listen to it, consider it, but get your own authority. You find out what you need to do and not do. More about that? You have it?
Condroma bowing, so then if we're doing something and we have the intention of being aware,
Yes.
is that the same thing as being aware, bowing?
Yes. Intention and awareness, same thing. Consciousness and awareness, same thing. There's a differentiation there, that there's a reason there are different shaped words for that. The consciousness doesn't have any location or place. Awareness seems to have a kind of location where part of the awareness is looking at another part of the awareness, but both of those are illusions. But that consciousness always finds its own form. So right now you're contained by a body-mind complex, which has a kind of relative stability for quite a number of years, usually. And it feels very stable. And you still have passion, aggression, and ignorance, right and wrong, should be and shouldn't be. So we get kind of trapped by that because we buy into it. We agree, we push away, we get into the three poisons. So it seems to be necessary through the sitting practice of meditation, through an awareness practice, to train your mind so that you see the coming and going in the mind stream so clear that when you get off the cushion, you start to give that kind of equanimity, that kind of balance, that kind of generosity to everything. All the people that come into your life, leave your life. You don't agree with them, you don't disagree with them, and you don't ignore them. Fundamental, ultimate generosity. No giver, no receiver, no gift. This is a teaching that was been around way before we showed up. Comes out of the Buddha's Dharma. Threefold purity. It's just a teaching, comes out of the mouths of a teacher somewhere in the past that realized the nature of consciousness and began to talk about it using relative terms. This is why it's so important for all of us to study the Buddha's Dharma, study what Dogen said, study what Padmasambhava said, study what all the teachers down through the lineage, study what my teachers have said. James, go ahead.
James Bowling. Does building and improving relate to the concept of a heap of suffering?
Yes.
Okay, should you just let stuff build up then, since you can't actually solve anything?
So I'm close to agreeing with you, but I would say more rather than let it, because that tends to be an ego credential. I've just let myself, just letting it build up. So there's a little bit of a miniature hideout for ego, and ego can tuck itself into the smallest corner. And when I see
Okay.
that, wait a minute.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you for the apology. When I see someone who says that they want to function as my student, when I see them tuck themselves away and hide that ego, that self-centered part of the consciousness in a little hideout, and I'm watching it, but usually I'll wait sometimes for years to see if they can just come out of that on their own and present in a genuine way in front of the teacher, in front of the teaching, in front of the community, genuinely, sincerely, without obstruction. This doesn't always happen. But if I have permission to teach, I may go in and poke in there a little bit. I won't even say anything. I won't say, come out and show yourself. I'm not that dramatic. But I may poke in such a way that there's a possibility that that person might start to suffer more because they know they're hiding out, but they can also just run away. There's no right or wrong to it. You're either ready for this all the way, or you'll go part way, or I've had people so totally sincere, genuine, yes, Sokuzan, you're my teacher, and I love you, and I've been on this path forever, and I've always wanted to be a Buddhist, and so whole Raksu, and then because one thing they don't like about me or about the community or anything, or about whatever's happening in their mind, they don't want to do this. So they walk away, and I don't have many, maybe half a dozen blank Raksus. So, but there's no right or wrong to it. Everyone does this differently. I've yet to have anybody sow a Raksu and receive precepts and then give it all back, give the precepts back, and then come back and say, I changed my mind. I want to retake my vows with you. I think I had one person do that once, and I can't remember his name. Seems like it was a Lion Nose. Yeah, Lion Nose was his name. No, Lion Bobber. It was like a bobber in the water shaped like a lion. Didn't know whether he should sink or swim. That's how bobbers are, you know. And was that genuine? Was that sincere? Was that truthful? Yes. He's living his life. I know this gentleman. It is a gentleman. And he's very sincere. And he's he's just has a tailwind happening in his own particular self-centeredness that he's just too scary. My words, not his, for him to come back, sit in front of the teacher, and receive this astonishing teaching. Free and well favored. You're free to be here. You're free to leave. Sometimes call free will. I don't know if I'd use that last word, but you're basically free. You're free insofar as your karma will allow you to move this way or that. And you're well favored in that you're, for the next few more minutes, you're willing to consider what I'm saying. Or I don't know, maybe in your mind stream, you're listening to me and disagreeing with everything I say. Same thing. Those are not different. I know you're disagreeing with me. You wouldn't be here if you agreed. You'd be somewhere just not fighting with anything. All I'm representing is your mind. Was that his name? Silly Bobber or something like that? Yes. And it had a lion in it somewhere, but
He dropped it off.
lion pouting, a pouting lion. That's what it was. Pouting lion. Yes. Sweet fellow. Helped us a lot. He built that whole yoga studio over there. This guy came in and worked his tail off over there. I think he left with his tail, lion's tail, but he left part of it. He built it, worked on that very, very hard. So pretty good merit is going to follow him through the next lifetime. Jen, go ahead.
Jen Bowing. Excuse me. I think I've asked this exact question in a different way, maybe. Maybe I'm getting closer to the actual question. If I can't actually be genuine with a difficult person, is it a good, knowing that we don't like to set up standards, is it a good kind of rule of thumb to instead at least affirm, like gently affirm their experience, at least, if you can't give
Sure.
them what they want?
Oh, yes, completely. Yes. Yeah. Hang out with them. And you notice that they're kind of, shall we use the intense word, kind of contaminated with their beliefs about stuff. And they're so locked into their belief about something, you can kind of see that the belief is just kind of a fabrication. And it's meant to help them have a sense of being somebody who knows about right and wrong, or believes a particular position. This is all over the world. This is happening. It just creates horrible warfare, pain and suffering for everyone. So yes, I would say the important thing is the communication. The important thing is to receive. Your response, the respond there, as I say, don't do anything unless you have to, but it might be as much as, yeah, I'm kind of following what you're saying. I'm kind of following, rather than saying, I think you're full of crap, and I think even a Dharma teacher probably won't do that, but they might function in such a way to hint at the person that they're creating more sour grapes for themselves and others. They're creating that. And you don't have to function as someone's teacher unless that becomes something that is choiceless for you. You start to have students because people want to hear your response. But what I'm understanding that you're saying there is, and I would agree insofar, I think I'm agreeing with what you're saying or going on. I'm saying, yeah, just give them a somewhat of a response so you're not totally marching down the hallway and walking away and slamming the door. Though I would say that might be not. Some people are so demanding of your positive response, agreeing with them, that you could actually say that I'm trying to follow what you're saying, but this is the way you can be responsible for your leaving. Say, I'm trying to follow what you're saying, but it's just too difficult for me. I'm going to have to leave. And then they'll have to deal with, what does she mean? What does he mean? What do they mean by difficult? This is obvious to me. Those are the good guys and those are the bad guys. So you follow a little bit, or you have a further question around that? I hope
Jen
so.
Bowing. I'm just laughing because I would have to say, you have to leave because I can't leave. I'm stuck at the coffee shop.
Well, hire them, and then you're their boss.
Oh, God.
You don't
That'll
want to
make
work.
things worse. I'm a terrible.
That would be worse. Yeah. Well, I follow. Yeah. In your situation, it's but you do have a counter. You're in front of a counter, and you are you own the coffee shop, and so you can dismiss yourself. It's not incorrect, or it's not bad practice or something to just say, don't have time right now. Need to do this. Need to do that. I sometimes say it this way. It's not about not lying. It's being aware of lying. It's not about not any of those 16 precepts. It's not about not doing it. You might have to kill somebody. This is a teaching that's gotten me in trouble. People get upset with me when I say, well, you might, well, I don't know, you might have to. You are not in charge of this, even though some people teach that a different way. But if you're aware of it, then you can actually be responsible for what happens and you can fundamentally help others. So you could say, I'm busy right now. Even though you have time, you're kind of lying because you could sit and talk to them for the next 20 minutes because somebody else is taking care of service, or maybe there's no one in there. But you could just say that so that because you're fundamentally helping a person by not cheering them on in their confusion, you're pulling away and saying, even though you're a kind, loving person, which I happen to know is the case, even though, and they would see that too, but they want to take advantage of you and dump their craziness on you and see if they can't get some agreement. This is what a cult is, and this is most of the world. A lot of the religious organizations, including some aspects of Buddhism, are very cult-like. It's about right and wrong. I was attacked by Buddhist monks thinking I was wrong. And it's just cult behavior. It's not necessarily an organized cult, but it's cult behavior, wouldn't you say? You don't need to agree with me. And it's someone who comes in and tries to get you to agree or just wants to bend your ear for the next 20 minutes with their confusion, I guess would be a polite word. The confusion is looking for agreement because they have a sense that something's up with this. I need to get somebody to agree with me because I can't be responsible for these negative feelings myself. I need to find somebody to join me. Does it feel that way to you, or do you have a more clear understanding of that?
Gem bowing. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate. She's very fixed on me and her being the same. So it's a
Yeah.
tricky situation.
Yes.
But I have another question, if I can.
Yes,
Related to earlier when Kandrama asked about is intention awareness, and you said yes. Is, I suppose, forgetting your intention is not awareness?
That's awareness.
Forgetting your intention is
Yes.
awareness? Can you say more?
I can. It's so much about awareness. It's so complete that no matter what happens, the important thing is you have the intention that you can even forget it. That's why the teaching that I have there is don't maintain anything. Don't maintain your intention. Return to it. You're sitting here, you just left work, you come home, you're tired, you want to go to sleep, or you're just but instead you don't forget your intention. You sit down, you might sit there for 30 seconds, sit down, hold still, intend to see the nature of your mind, intend to see the truth no matter what, intend to save all beings, intend to meet everything as it is, whatever shows up, receive it, receive it, receive it, receive it. All the sense fields, you're supplied with receivers. These are all receivers. Nothing, these don't produce anything. The mind does not produce unless there's an ego there. Then it's producing all kinds of things that create a protection or barriers around that part of consciousness that is identified with the body-mind complex that is relatively real, ultimately is unreal, and will vanish in a few years, maybe a few decades. So yes, all you have to do is intend, and that intention could even be show up the negative end of that situation could be I can't seem to get to the cushion. I can't meditate. You can't. That's why I say sit down for 30 seconds, strike a bell, sit there for 30, strike a bell again, and get up and leave. It's not about time. That doesn't mean that in order to train your mind, you might not need to sit for long periods of time. But that if your intention is clear and you know you need to do this, then that might not show up this week, might not show up this year, but sometime you'll find yourself going into retreat, or at least sitting block sittings back to back. More about that if you haven't.
Not right now. Thank you
You're welcome.
very much.
Sir.
Yoke bowing. Question from Ath in the UK. Why is the emotion of guilt more powerful than fear?
But I don't think it's always the case. That would vary, that kind of thing. Guilt is a kind of fear. So guilt is, fear is about protecting the ego feels threatened, and we're afraid. The self-centeredness is threatened. So in some way, the physical form, excuse me, might be showing through any one of the sense fields, through the five skandhas. Then guilt is a shrinking down of the ego and compressing of the ego into I'm so bad, I've done something terribly wrong. But it's just perpetuation of the self. The self that is believed in as an illusion has all kinds of ways and ploys of being someone. And some of them are just, when I say some of them are obvious, and some of them are just not. They're so difficult. This is when Kandama was saying earlier, that why is this so difficult? I think of the last talk you gave, talked about this being so very, very difficult. And this means as you practice, as you sit longer and longer and longer hours, I'm biased here. I'm not saying you can't do a spiritual path that doesn't have any meditation in it. You probably can. But this one, if you're listening to this person, sit down, hold still, and sit for long periods of time so that you can actually see the incredibly deep, subtle layers that self-protective ego is there. I've been doing this for over half a century. When I say doing this, I'm saying even longer than that, studying Buddhism, studying the spiritual path, not just Buddhism, everything I could find that told me something about the nature of consciousness. I could go down the list, but I think I've done that before. I'm not going to do it today. So it was Ath. So Ath, I would say that the ego part of it is that has to do with guilt is about protecting, about there's somebody who's to blame, somebody who's been wrong. But in the other end of it, fear can be more powerful than any of them. It's just perhaps you might have had some guilt that causes you to state it that way, and you haven't been frightened enough to really realize that fear could be more intense. Fear is a reaction, ego trying to get away from the scary, threatening thing, and guilt is a way of shrinking down and having a boundary or a barrier that protects you from what? What does it protect you from? He's not here, so I can't ask him. But look at that. I would say, look at what is happening with threat in terms of fear and threat in terms of guilt. And you'll get a finer, more refined idea of what the guilt process in consciousness is and why it shrinks down into a self who's just wrong, can't get anything right, and did something to harm someone else. Like feeling ashamed. I'm so ashamed that I did this, or I'm so remorseful that I didn't. This is ego. If you think otherwise, I'm sitting here. Come and let me have it. Show me how I'm incorrect about that. Explain it to me. Use all the concepts you want. I mean it. Well, kind of. We don't have a lot of time, if any. Is there a further question out there in TV land?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay. Final questions in here? Final questions on Zoom? Jishin, I thought you might get to me eventually.
Bowing. Is the nature of intention similar to the nature of vow? Bowing.
Yes, the vow gives you some stability in that area that is just using relative truth to support something like the vow to be with all things, the intention to see the truth, and you return to the vow. I vow to be with all things. Thank you very much. I have no complaints whatsoever. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, the teacher. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, the teacher, or the guru, or the person's name who is your teacher. Some way of reinforcing that, even though when you're saying it, one of the ways that it'll show up in consciousness when you say that, it will feel like you don't believe it. Have you noticed, you guys? Anybody that's wearing one of these, or anyone that's said the vow over and over again, the more you, that's why in the Tibetan tradition, the teaching is you need to do the 4 foundation practices, the 4 extraordinary foundations are, the first one is 108,000 prostrations saying, I take refuge in the Buddha, take refuge in the Dharma, take refuge in the Sangha, take refuge in the Guru, take refuge in the Buddha, take refuge in the Dharma, take refuge in the Sangha, take refuge in the Guru, and prostrate, full prostration all the way out. Why would you do that? Well, I don't know, there's no why because. But if you do that, everything just comes apart. And you have a feeling, I don't know, maybe you have a different feeling. But my feeling doing that was, this is ridiculous. I don't feel like I'm me. I feel like I'm lying. What is that? Consciousness. Consciousness. You realize yes, you are lying. It's about seeing the nature of consciousness. It's not about functioning as a really cool, good person who's kind, loving, and here it comes, compassionate. Don't kid yourself. Don't kid anybody. Knock it off. Stop it. Realize the truth yourself. You don't need anybody's approval, including mine. I don't approve of anything you're doing. And I also don't disapprove. And I'm not, if you're close to me, I won't ignore it. You walk in this room, I know who's there. I know what your cover up is, even though you never talk to me. And do I have permission to point that out to you? I think very slowly. I move very slowly. I think that's why I'm still around, because I do everything so slow. I've got a lot of things left to do, and so I'll probably be around for longer than y'all. Although occasionally it doesn't look like it. More? Less?
Thank you. I was looking for that connection. We don't have to repeat the vow every day, even though we may, but it's still there. And it feels the same to me with intention. So thank you for that clarification.
Yes. Very good question. I jumped off into the where you're repeating that intention over and over and over, and there's a structure for it. If you start to practice under a Tibetan Lama and you follow their instructions, his or her, you're going to be, before you even get to the actual sadhana practice, which there's several of those, first you're going to be doing 100,000 prostrations, 100,000 repetitions of the Vajrasattva mantra, 100,000 repetitions or actualizations of offerings to the mandala, which is a very complicated structure of a mandala plate, and offering rice and commenting on the structure that you're doing, and then you wipe it off 108,000 times. At the same time, you're doing a visualization. I'm just letting you know this is how the Tibetans, probably 1,000 years ago, whenever realized that most people are too resistant to this. They're going to have a really, really strong form. I somewhat agree, somewhat disagree, and somewhat ignore all of that. The way it looks to me is you need to sit still and watch the wall. Look at the wall. You may have to do those other ones, you may not. I don't know. I mean, it's always very, very situational. That's not to say that the fourth foundation is 1,000,000 offerings to the Guru or Guru Yoga. 1,000,000 times you say that with a mandala. You say, come up again, no, 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 come up again, no. 1,000,000. It's actually over 1,000,000 if you do all of them. Should you do that? No. Don't do anything unless you have to. You don't have to do that, don't do it. If you don't need a teacher, you don't have a teacher. You don't need a spiritual path. Everything is a spiritual path. Here it comes. Using relative truth to talk about the ultimate. Eventually. I'm just not arguing with time. I'm not agreeing with time. But I'm certainly not ignoring that everybody is trapped by time. I have to teach out of what you're trapped by. I can't teach out of some kind of highfalutin. You just need to be holy. You need to clean up your act. You need to be in a jhana state. You don't need to do anything. You decide what you need to do. I trust you to do it. If you're listening to me, you've come quite a long way, not because I'm so wonderful. I'm kind of nobody. I'm not famous. I'm trying to be famous, but it's just not working. So I just decided to be a cult leader. That seemed to work for a while, but then I got a whole bunch of bad reviews, so I guess I'll have to go back to being a good guy. Okay, I've had enough of you guys, so I'm leaving.